The new trailer for Nosferatu just dropped, and it seemingly wants to make vampires scary again. And in order to do so, it had to remake one of the greatest movies of all time, the original Nosferatu from more than 1 century ago. Let's see why this is a movie the audience today desperately needs, and why Nosferatu is such a big deal in the first place. One of the movies I have been the most excited for this year is the Nosferatu remake by Robert Eggers. Yeah, I know it's a remake, and as such, it shouldn't normally be deserving of any such excitement, not with so many other remakes, like the 2016 Ghostbusters being so scornfully rejected, which Paul Feig just can't get over, as we saw in our previous video. But it's not just that it's a remake of Nosferatu, that on its own could have gone sideways real quickly. It's that it's done by Robert Eggers, one of the greatest filmmakers and auteurs working today. He's the visionary behind most recently The Fantastic Northman, and before that, the equally great Lighthouse and The Witch. None of these are commercial schlock, nor were they commercial successes for that matter. Yet they were all great classic cinema, and based on the just-released trailer, his Nosferatu will be as well. After decades worth of comic book movie dominance, which I too enjoyed to be clear, many in the movie-going audience, especially in the younger brackets of it, have nonetheless become so accustomed to comic book movies that many have no interest in seeing quote-unquote real cinema, or they can't even relate to it, unless it comes in a comic book wrapping like The Joker, as frequently pointed out by my associate Tom Connors. A movie like Robert Eggers' Nosferatu might very well be an antidote to that, as it comes with the genre wrapping that makes it accessible, yet it is a story about Jungian inherited memories. Now, some of you may interject, what the hell does that even mean? Wasn't Nosferatu just the German filmmaker's way of dodging copyright, so they didn't have to pay Bram Stoker for using Dracula? Because isn't Nosferatu just a straight-up Dracula adaptation, just under a different name? Well, it may look like that on the surface, but there is more to it. Here's a preview from our upcoming Ultimate Nosferatu retrospective. The original 1922 Nosferatu isn't technically the first adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula. The Austrian Dracula Halala was released a few months earlier, but all copies of it have been lost, while a 1920 Russian adaptation of Stoker's novel is only rumored to ever have existed at all, as there's no tangible evidence that it ever did. This makes Nosferatu the oldest extant adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula. The history of Nosferatu doesn't begin with either Bram Stoker or Dracula though, but with German artist, architect and occultist Albin Grau. Many may associate the movie more with director Murnau today, but the one individual without whom the movie Nosferatu could never have happened was producer Albin Grau. Born in Leipzig-Schönefeld in 1884, Grau was a lifelong student of the occult and an eventual member of the Fraternitas Saturni, a magical order centered around astrological and Luciferian teachings. He also served in the German army during World War I, and during the winter of 1916 he encountered Slavic folklore when a Serbian farmer told him that his father was a vampire and one of the undead. The farmer's story and details surrounding it stuck with Grau, and he has stated that it was this which inspired him to do a vampire film, which indeed he would do only 5 years later. By that time, World War I was over, and Grau had become an established architect and artist, as well as a practicing occultist. To wit, alongside Enrico Deichmann, he founded the film studio Prana Films in 1921 with the intention of producing occult and supernatural-themed films. Underlining that point, the name Prana was taken from a theosophical journal, Theosophy being the occult order formed around the teachings of Madame Blavatsky, and that journal in turn had lifted the name from the Hindu concept of Prana, the force that connects all things. On that note, if you want to stay connected, and you find the information presented here to be interesting, then why not like this video and hit subscribe, and indicate you want notifications on all videos, as there will be plenty more deep dives like this to come. For now though, let's return to Nosferatu. For Prana's first feature film then, Albin Grau, inspired by the story he learned from the Serbian farmer during World War I, wanted to make a vampire movie, and there already was a perfect template for one, namely Bram Stoker's Dracula. To be clear, Albin Grau never had any intention of doing a completely faithful adaptation of the book, nor did he want his vampire to be anything like the elegant and aristocratic Dracula. What he wanted was to use the story of a young real estate broker traveling from the modern world the audience knew to the faraway ancient land of Transylvania, where he would encounter a medieval supernatural evil beyond his understanding, and for that supernatural evil to invade the modern world the audience knew. In Bram Stoker's Dracula, the modern world ultimately conquered the revenant of the medieval past. But to Albin Grau, the appeal was the idea of this ancient evil bringing rats and pestilence into the modern world, triggering Jungian memories of a shared past, and for the ancient world to, in a sense, win and corrupt modernity to the point of resorting to human sacrifice, the only way it can prevail. This indeed is the major thematic difference between Bram Stoker's Dracula and Nosferatu. If you thought that was interesting, we've barely scratched the surface, as the full video is more than 40 minutes long, and it will provide a detailed interpretation of the movie, including the occult bits of it, and just how much it actually differs from Bram Stoker's Dracula. The full retrospective will premiere very soon on our brand new channel, Midnight's Edge Classics and Retrospectives. Here on the main channel, things will continue like before, with daily videos, editorials, postmortems and live streams, while the new channel will have none of that. No news, no politics, no culture wars. Only full-length, in-depth retrospectives of the best and coolest movies from the past. The reason we're doing this is quite simple. No videos require as much work as these feature-length retrospectives. And when we do make them, like we recently did for Beetlejuice, they tend to drown among the much more frequent daily editorials. On a dedicated channel, they will be easier to find. Uploads won't be daily, because every single video will be an event, and the first retrospective will be the ultimate Nosferatu retrospective, which you just saw a sample of. The full video will only be available on the new channel though, so head over there right now to subscribe. But many of you might not have seen the original Nosferatu, even though it is in the public domain. Some of you may be put off by the lack of music in some versions, or the quaintness of the music in other versions, or by the intertitle cards, many of which are written in fonts that were perfectly readable to audiences in 1922, but that have since fallen out of use. And the dirty little secret of silent films is that the intertitles you see today mostly weren't representative of the original filmmaker's vision anyway. No, the various distributors would chop off the original ones and substitute their own, sometimes adding edits or even mistranslations in the process, something modern versions of Nosferatu are rife with. Well, we fixed all of that in our version of the original Nosferatu, which not only 100% preserves the filmmaker's original vision, but which enhances it with brand new yet classic-looking intertitles, featuring new translations from the original German intertitles, a new atmospheric yet classic-sounding score, and where appropriate, strategic sound effects. Nosferatu, the Midnight's Edge experience, will also be released exclusively on our new channel, and you can see the trailer for it here.
Coming soon, experience the classic Nosferatu like you never have before. Nosferatu, the Midnight's Edge experience, with an entirely new score and soundtrack. Celebrating the launch of our brand new channel, Nosferatu, Symphony of Horror, the Midnight's Edge experience.
So, for the full Nosferatu experience, an expert-level interpretation in the accompanying retrospective, head on over and subscribe to Midnight's Edge Classics and Retrospectives. Link is in the description.